I-12 overwash where, like, hey, it's a big deal. We saw the homes go down first before we saw any issues on Highway 12, which is awfully rare. Tim, just one other thing I want to hit on here is we talked briefly about the drought monitor. I had a couple people say, hey, we got rain earlier this week. Why are we still in drought? And I think Brittany's going to talk with you about this tomorrow. But one of the things about the drought monitor, and we talk a lot about this, it seems weird to say this, but it's just not about rain. It's about the impacts. And we mentioned this yesterday when we talked about wildfire and crop stress and stream flows. It's really all those things. And sometimes those things don't change even with rainfall. So it's really an impact-focused monitor more so than just strictly straight up rain.
Yeah, it is, and I was a little surprised. Our area up here in the Piedmont got lowered from a moderate drought to just the abnormally dry. But still, everybody in the state could use some rain, and I think we're seeing this with the fall color reports as well. That this drier weather has taken a little bit of a toll. So we'll see what next week brings. But in the meantime, it's going to be beautiful weather. Should be great weather this weekend. I know you got a busy one in Charlotte with some racing going on. That's good to see.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So here's a live view from Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Rollville 400 this weekend. Great weekend of racing out there. This is a really cool event. Normally when there's NASCAR, we always worry about rain. For the Rollville, they can run in light rain because they can put the rain tires on. They got the big wiper. They just can't run in heavy rain because I've actually gone on the Rollville in a Tegra, like a Toyota. It's kind of hilly. You don't think it is being as hilly, but what happens is when there's a lot of spray, and if you've been on the interstate behind a semi-truck, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you get a bunch of spray from the cars, visibility becomes an issue. So when the visibility gets reduced, they usually will postpone a road race. But just light rain, they'll race right through it. So it is an interesting race. It's also a road course where you can sit in the stands and see the entire course. Typically, other road courses like Watkins Glen, you go out west to Sonoma, some of these other road courses, you pick a corner and you just wait for the cars to come by, or a straightaway. Out here at the Speedway, you get to see the whole thing.
Yep. And
because of that big screen you see off in the distance there, you can actually see the whole race at any point. So it's a cool event. We also got a home Panthers game this weekend, Tim. I don't know what to expect from a football standpoint. It seems to be an every other weekend kind of thing. It's a great one week, it's bad the next, so we'll see how it goes. But at least the weather will be good, right?
Yeah. We're rooting for them. We're supporting them. We're hoping for the best. Say the first home game was good. Maybe this one will be good as well. But
yeah, maybe the home.
I just like to say Roval. Have fun at the Roval.
It's a cool term. Thanks for sticking around. We're out of time tonight. Stick around. Vanessa Rufus is coming up next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here for Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We'll be together for the next couple of hours taking a look at your breaking headlines and live feeds from around the Carolinas and around the nation and the world. I want to start off with a big story, not just nationally, but also there is a Charlotte connection here, but it is that scary situation that happened in New York, LaGuardia Airport this week. Two Delta Airlines regional jets collided while on the taxiway. A flight attendant was injured. We mentioned the Charlotte connection. Actually, one of those flights had just arrived from Charlotte, North Carolina. 61 people on board, the other aircraft carrying 32. I want to bring you up to speed with the very latest because, of course, there is a federal investigation now underway, and it sounds like the flight recorders have been recovered and will be studied. Let's take a listen.
Emergency lights flashing at New York's LaGuardia Airport Wednesday night after two Delta Airlines regional jets collided on the ground, the wing of one aircraft slamming into the cockpit windows of the other.
When you feel the front of the plane just kind of get dragged to the right, and you can physically feel like in your seat, you moving to the right.
One person was taken to the hospital, according to airport officials, with a pilot heard on air traffic control audio saying a flight attendant had injured her knee.
We call these incursions, runway incursions, and they're about 4 a day. Usually they don't hit.
The collision happened between Flight 5047 and Flight 5155 at the intersection of two taxiways. The Federal Aviation Administration said air traffic control had told Flight 5155 to wait to cross the intersection and yield to other aircraft. The agency now investigating the incident.
There are very clear rules for pilots taxiing, one plane turning in front of the other, depending upon the clearances, and ground control would have said who was cleared to go where, but it's like the rules of the road. One plane has the right of way, the other was turning in front of it, and so they will figure it out in a hurry.
Delta released a statement saying, in part, Delta will work with all relevant authorities to review what occurred as the safety of our customers and people comes before all else. We apologize to our customers for the experience. In Washington, Michael Yoshida.
As always, we'll bring you more updates as we get more information on this particular story. Meantime, we've got a new live feed coming into the Live Impact News studio. This is from Memphis, Tennessee, an area in the national spotlight, of course, because of the dialogue surrounding crime and the deployment of federal law enforcement in the city. And there's a Memphis State Task Force, which now includes at least 200 federally deputized officers. Sounds like there's a community meeting underway to talk about crime and this safe task force. So let's listen in.
Policies, our procedures, our rules and regulations, they all stay the same. The laws stay the same for us. The difference is that we have other entities that bring in more of a federal nexus into encounters. And so what citizens can do is, I met with some community leaders earlier today to really just talk about how do we spread tidbits of knowledge about what you should or should not do. Myself and Representative Parkinson and some of us were just huddling earlier about how do we educate our community on what you should or should not do and how you navigate through situations. And so I say mobilize, come together, find forums like this so that we can educate the community about what they can expect, especially at this time. I know I've been specific about this time, but it's very important to all of our citizens.
Thank you, Chief. This question is addressed to Parkinson and Lamar, and so it's imperative I want both of you all to answer, because one thing I said, and I'm unapologetic, I'm tired of seeing people on the camera saying one thing, and when they're at the table to really advocate for us, they're not doing it. So I want to make sure that we're addressing these questions and making sure we have accountable people on this forum as the community is accountable. State Representative Parkinson and then Senator Lamar, answer this question for me. What ways are you speaking up to persuade other members to increase the state's minimum wage?
That's really easy. Every single year we have a piece of legislation that is brought by either one of us or somebody in our Democratic caucus that we all co-sponsor every single year. And it will be 16 years that I've been elected in January. It has not been one single year that we have not brought legislation to increase people's wages, not just, barely above the minimum wage, but to a space where they can actually live on it.
Senator?
Thank you. That's a good question. I would obviously the same thing every year. As chair of the Senate Democratic Caucus and a caucus leader, we do push certain legislation, which one of them is increasing the minimum wage. But I also want people to realize that it's not just about increasing the minimum wage. We also introduce legislation, do all the other things to help improve the economic viability of our community. That means, for example, I push legislation that is stopping credit reporting agencies from reporting your utility bills, rent payments, and medical debt, so people can avoid getting sick. Those are huge financial costs. So making sure you can always be able to afford to get the next car or a nice house and things like that. We're also holding accountable to the fact that the Republican legislature literally gave corporations a $1.6 billion tax rate, and now we are in a financial bind because the revenue of the state has gone down, so there's less money for community services and other nonprofits and community initiatives that we need to improve the community. Also, we're demanding that corporations pay their fair wages to employees and their fair tax rate. I also personally want to push toll roads. Why? When I went to college in a state that had toll roads, I want a pothole that I hit. And we border 8 states and one of the biggest transportation meccas in the country. We should be making money off folks using our resources. So it's more than just about the minimum wage, which is where it starts, but it's also holding our businesses and our entities and our corporations accountable, but also holding our government accountable to making sure everybody pays their fair rate in taxes and in other ways like excise tax and employee wages, health care, family vacation, paid leave, all the things that help families be able to take care of themselves so they don't have to work 3 to 4 jobs and can't take care of the kids, but they can work 1 job, go to their kids after school program, take at least 1 family vacation a year, and just live great. That is what it's about. It's a holistic approach. It's not one single policy. It's a multitude of policies. And that is why it's important for all of you all and those who are watching to get engaged, not just with me and Representative Parkinson, but all the legislators in our community to push your agenda. If you don't come to us and tell us what you need, then we're going to do our best to push legislation what we think that you may need.
Thank you so much, Senator.
You can clap for that. You the official clap starter? Okay. Yeah, thank you, Senator.
So this is for Chief Davis, and the mayor's not here, but we will keep this for him to answer. Why couldn't our police be doing their jobs at all times? Instead of saying we don't have enough officers or saying we can't do nothing about the guns.
And I want to come behind the chief after this too about the gun part.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we're not going to say we can't do nothing about the guns because we take guns off the street every day. We took 13 off the street last night. So we can do something about the guns. Of course, the laws aren't in our favor or in our city's favor as it relates to permitless carry and the other liberties that people have with guns. But we never say what we can't do. No, we don't have enough officers. But as I said earlier, with the officers that we have, we never say that we're not going to move and try to make it better. We've done well with the shortages that we have because we're starting to see some changes in our city as it relates to the reduction of crime as well, and working with our partners. We can't do it by ourselves. So we're never going to say what we can't do. You know, one of my sayings, my staff hears me say it all the time, success comes in cans, not can'ts. So you won't ever hear me say what I can't do. We're going to use the resources that we have, and we're going to work with our partners, you know, in the community to try to change as much as we can without, you know, saying that there is no opportunity for us to do better.
Thank you so much.
Can I come?
Absolutely, State Representative Parkinson.
So, thank you, Chief. I think it's important to know too. You know, we have to be honest with policy. Policies matter, right? Who's in those offices matter. You know, when they first passed the law of guns in trunks. That was when you were able to store your gun in your trunk whether you had a permit or not. And that's when the gun thefts spiked. That's when they went up, right? And those guns were stolen and put into our streets. Then they passed permitless carry. And then they tried to make it so that 18-year-olds could carry assault weapons in the streets legally. I was sitting on those committees fighting those bills. And so when all of that happened, they also would not fund, initially, gun safety training for individuals that went into gun safety training. We were finally able to get them to fund partial payments of, for people to have gun safety training. One of the biggest issues for me was when permitless carry came online was our people being charged with felonies for ignorance of the law. Just because you can carry a gun don't mean you can draw that gun. Just because, somebody steals your bike doesn't mean that you can point that gun at them. And so there's a lot of miseducation, there's a lack of education when it comes to some of these things. Now, lastly, I want to say this. We passed this bill, House Bill 1050, that allows you to fast track closing businesses down as a nuisance, but also you can close them houses down as a nuisance as well, right? And so we all know, where those houses are. In our neighborhoods, we know. Now look, 85%, 90% of the people that live in our communities are good, solid people. But we know that there's one or two houses where all of the drama emanates from. Am I correct? Just nod your head if you with me, right? But we're not reporting those houses, or we're not, activating, the new nuisance laws on those houses. You can get them folks right out of your neighborhood. And we're putting the laws in place, but we have to utilize them in order to make sure that we have the best quality of life as possible. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna close, Doctor. You do not have to accept bad conditions in your neighborhood. You do not, let me say that again, you do not have to accept bad conditions in your neighborhood, but you have to put forth an effort to change those conditions. And I'm not saying that it's all your fault, but we have to do our part as a community, as a neighborhood, and as a people to make sure those bad elements are out of our communities.
Thank you so much, State Rep, and thank you, Chief, as well. This talks about blight in the city, so I'll give that to Councilwoman Cooper Sutton. Will it be possible to continue blight all year long? The city is looking better, but can it look even better if the cleanup continues without ceasing? And this person said, great job, Mayor Young. I'm definitely going to text him that. That may encourage him. You want to make a comment on what y'all done?
Well, we are truly, truly working very hard. The entire administration is working very hard to get the city clean. However, it is the community's responsibility as well. At this point, we are using a lot of our taxpayers' dollars that could be utilized in different areas where the need is really great. But however, we've lost our way of keeping our city clean. We are dealing with different types of put-outs that people are not being held accountable for on property owners. And so there is a lot that goes behind the scene that it comes back to the city as being responsible for what we all should be teaching our children and in our homes. What I find very disturbing in the city is you want the politicians to raise your children. They're your children. You laid and played and gathered. And then there comes a responsibility behind it and with it. And then when we can't produce or we're short of employees and it's hard, then everybody wants to beat up the administration. It is your responsibility, just as well as it is our responsibility, to keep our city clean. We have a program. I just had a meeting, once again, dealing with blight. So my comment was, and I'm very truthful, I'm not apologetic, is we're about to take the pacifiers out your mouths. And you're going to have to be responsible for your community. We can sit up here all day long and answer all these great questions that you're bringing, but until mindset change plays a part in it. Your mindset has to change in this city. And it has to start with you, me, the preachers. There was I can't understand the integrity part of it, what has happened. If it doesn't come across your community, it ain't no problem. If it ain't your child that's been killed and murdered, it ain't your problem until it hits your front door. It's our problem. This is a predominantly black city. And every time I look on TV, it's the other folks that's running it. So I'm trying to figure out the missing part. So it's an underground world somewhere that's been going on in this city for decades. I just got in this seat, and I know it's a dead cat on the line. So blight is everyone's problem. I don't have any cliques. I didn't go to school with anybody here in Memphis. So my allegiance is only to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But we got to do it together. And it's our responsibility here in this city. Our children need to understand throwing paper out. You got these corner stores that are in our communities that are horrible, trash everywhere. See, I go in the stores where my community is, and I let them know who I am. Now you got 24 hours to clean it up. And if you don't, I got a direct line to code. And I'm gonna send them your way. So either you can do it the right way, or you can dig in your pocket. That's good. So blight, and I will end with this, blight is our responsibility. And we're about to take the pacifier out. Because the mayor got bigger issues than going around trying to help grown folk clean up their community. You can have it. Okay.
All right, folks, we are going to take a quick break here, depending on what our feeds look like. After 2 minutes of that break, we'll come back and either bring you back to Memphis, Tennessee with this community meeting underway, or we've got another feed that's potentially popping off here, but we just want to monitor in the commercial break. So we'll see you in 2 minutes, folks. Thanks for sticking with us here on Live Impact News. Welcome back, everyone, to Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. As we alluded to before we went to break, we have a couple feeds that we're keeping an eye on here in the Live Impact News studio. Of course, we're still watching Memphis, Tennessee, where that community meeting is underway, kind of happening amid a big national spotlight on Memphis over allegations of crime in the area and the fact that there are deployments of federal law enforcement, and you've got the National Guard from Tennessee that are out, part of this Safe Cities Task Force. We've also got a town hall that's underway as we speak in Des Moines, Iowa. Now, this is another area that is in the national spotlight because of immigration actions. So we've got a detention of a school superintendent, Ian Andre Roberts. He is now the former superintendent of the largest school district there in Iowa. And we've got folks who are addressing his detainment. We've been seeing in the wake of his detainment, which was actually back on Friday, protests that have been happening, students that have been protesting the fact that he's been detained. He ended up stepping down from his position, saying he didn't want to cause a distraction while his deportation proceedings were underway. Let's listen into this town hall right now.
We have a lot of lawyers, a lot of resources, and I can tell you all, we are pouring all of them into this case. We have started Friday, and it's been nonstop since then. And it's really a pleasure and an honor to work with Alfredo and to work on these kind of cases. This is what we say why we go to law school. And the support we get from all of you is humbling and it's inspiring. And we want to try to give you all information that we can, but you have to remember, because we're in pending litigation and there's so many threats of litigation, it can be limited. So I know you all are going to have a lot of questions. I'm not sure we're going to have a lot of answers, but what we can do is we can just promise you effort, because they're going to bring everything that they got, and we got to be ready for it. And we need support, and we need patience, and we need critical thinking and understanding. It's so easy to read things on the internet, on Twitter, where people are trying to make names for themselves and get information out there quickly, and it's not always accurate. So what we do is we gather all that information and we really break it down. And that's what we've been doing for several days. So we sure that a lot of the information out there is generating a lot of questions. So if anybody would like to show a hand, ask a question, we're going to do the best that we can, okay?
And don't be shy about asking questions. I mean, even if we can't answer them, if they're in your mind, we'd be happy to take a stab at it.
Testing.
Oh, one thing I didn't mention, I was pointed out that I should mention, the one charge, which is public record now, it's a firearm while you're in an immigrant. That's the charge. That's the only charge we have right now. So just think about it and put it in context and the optics of today's day. It's a firearm that an immigrant has, and the argument is that immigrant should not have had a firearm. Okay? But we're in touch with all the key people. All right, go ahead.
Okay, what I wanted to ask you is no one has ever said how this started. Supposedly he's driving down and they just stop him, and the next thing you know, ICE has him and everything. What, he ran a red light? And because he ran a red light, all this evolved over that. Is his name on a list, or what's going on? Well, that's amazing. Nobody said he just was stopped.
That's
for what?
That's a very good question. We can't get into the facts at this point, though. We do have some knowledge of it. As I tell the reporters who call, because this is a case that's grabbed international attention, we say, well, that's good. Do we have information related to that? We can't get into that much detail with it. I will say this. We know the facts. I was in an open carry state, as we know. Yeah, we know that.
I got one right here.
Hello, my name is Matthew Bruce. I've actually had the honor of
being a thorn in Mr. Parrish's side, I wanted to know what is the veracity of the claim that there is a removal order, I'm not sure if that's the correct language, but placed by a court in 2024. Is that true? And then also, can we know the nature of this court or authority that issued this order?
So what we can say to try and answer your question, like I said, I know there's a lot of questions. I don't know how good our answers are going to be. Is what we'll tell you is that our office was alerted to an immigration case and a removal order, and we have moved to reopen that based on some evidence that we collected and we believe may have been a little misleading for our clients. So we're trying to convince an immigration court to go revisit some of these issues. And that's still pending, and that's where we are. So that's about as far as we can go to comment on those kinds of things, okay? Yes.
Oh, thank you. It seems pretty plain that Dr. Roberts has been on a target list put together by everything from the orange poof on down to our governor. And that's why he was stopped, regardless of the excuses they come up with or the procedures that they come up with. It also seems like if you folks are able to keep him from getting removed from the country, that is a big success. Is there a good chance that you can keep him from immediately being shipped off to God knows where? I mean, they're not only shipping people to prisons in South America, they've disappeared 1,200 people that were supposed to be in the so-called Alcatraz alligator, which they may very well be dead. So is there a good chance you can keep him, while there's litigation going on, keep him from being deported?
Let me share this with you. First of all, you ask a very good and relevant question. Immigration court under the current administration is extremely difficult. We don't know day to day. Actually, we made a couple of calls, and they were delaying in getting him to the phone. We thought perhaps he was out of the country at that point. But let me share this with you. We have been in touch with all the entities who have the power to remove him from the country. We have filed, as Brandon just said, all of the pertinent documents. But can we guarantee you, based upon what we know and how the optics are, will he be there tomorrow? We cannot guarantee it. Now, I have an appointment with him at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Will I be able to get in? I walk in and he's gone. There is no guarantee. I will tell you that we are speaking with all of the key people who are involved in that decision-making process. Now, I can't say all the way to the top of what's going on in D.C., but we have talked to all the folks who we think have some input in that decision. Okay? I hope that answers your question. There's a chance. You may recall, sir, that the young man who was transferred from the United States to El Salvador, the senator from I think it's Delaware, went down to meet with him. He came back to the country. A deportment order came out. His case they would not reopen, so he's in jeopardy down there where he is right now. It is a tough, it's all about the optics and the policies that are in place that shake us to our core. This has never been the United States as we know it. It is for the first time. We have to deal with it, and we have to be patient, and we have to work hard, and we have to be diligent. And the support that we get, like we see here tonight, that will make a difference because they see this. The good things that Dr. Roberts has done in this community, talk about it, as Brandon said. Speak up about it, as Akeo said. It makes a difference. These folks listen. They may not do what we want them to do, but they listen.
We got one over here. We got one over here, Al.
All right, folks, we'll get back to this feed as we're able to, but once again, a town hall with legal representation for the former superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools. We were hearing from a couple of the lawyers there describing the case. We'll get back to that as soon as we can. Meantime, we want to hit a headline that's closer to home here and really a big topic the entire month of October, as it is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. And we've got a local effort to discuss here tonight. Our Siobhan Riley, in fact, has been working on a piece for us coming up at 11 o'clock, and this is pertaining to a local woman who is really trying to make sure that folks get access to all the care that they need and the testing that they need in order to keep an eye on their status. So let's go ahead and check in with Siobhan now, joining us live here in the Live Impact News studio. Siobhan, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is a really important effort that this woman is undertaking. Tell us about who she is, what she's doing, and what the community needs to know.
Brandy Sims, we spoke with her back in, I believe that was April of this year, just about the backlog when it comes to mammograms. And she's really passionate about making sure that women, especially in underserved communities, have access to mammograms. These are women who don't have health care. And she started her own organization called Elizabeth House. And she started it after the death of her mother. Her mother died from breast cancer back in 2008. And her goal this month is to just make sure women have access to these mammograms. And she is hosting a 5K walk and run this month for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But the goal is to raise $10,000. And that's not easy to raise that kind of money.
Yeah.
And so she's getting the word out about just the need to help these women.
Yeah. What does she hope to do with the $10,000?
She wants to make sure they get access to mammograms in underserved communities. The money can be used for a number of things.
Yeah.
It can also just be used for other healthcare initiatives when it comes to breast cancer. But the main thing is making sure that they have those free mammograms.
Yeah, I mean, the topic of underserved communities, this comes up time and time again, whether we're talking about breast cancer. I remember during the COVID pandemic, we were talking about communities that weren't getting, all of the information, potentially all of the access to the care. And so there were a lot of efforts to make sure that that was not the case. Those disparities were being evened.
Yeah.
What can you share as far as, what folks need to know about those potential disparities and how it pertains specifically to breast cancer?
I think a lot of times in Black and brown communities, they don't have access. What we are hearing, a number of them are losing their jobs. They are living in communities that just they're not making, a lot of them are living below the poverty line. And so for her, it's really important to make sure that they get that access. She did mention that since the pandemic, organizations like Susan G. Komen have reached out to her organization because they lost a lot of funding. And now they're depending on her organization.
Wow.
Because the money is just not there.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough to hear. This specific 5K that you were talking about, what do folks need to know about the event, how they can take part, how they maybe even can just donate or help to this cause?
The event is going to be October 18th. That's Saturday, October 18th, and it is at Kirk Fields Park. That's here in Charlotte. And I'm going to list some information online where people can go online. She's asking people to register online for that, so there's plenty of time. And when I spoke with her today, she was out at the park passing out flyers, and people were already starting to register for that event.
Yeah, really just sounds like an unbelievably personal cause, mission for her. It's just, I hope that she's able to kind of make that impact that she's hoping to. And I know we'll be hearing from her tonight, right?
Yes.
As part of your piece.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Siobhan. We appreciate your time here.
Thank you.
And folks, as always, we'll go ahead and remind you that 11 o'clock here on WCNC Plus, as you just keep it here, we'll roll right into the news at 11 o'clock. You can watch Siobhan's piece there. We're going to take a little bit of a break here. We'll be back in 2 minutes, so very, very quick. As we alluded to, a couple feeds that remained here in the Live Impact News studio that we're following, including out of Des Moines, where the detention of a now former school superintendent is stirring a lot of emotions within the community in Des Moines. So let's go ahead and take that break. We'll see you in 2. Welcome back, everyone, to Live Impact News. We will turn back now to Des Moines, Iowa, where there's a town hall underway with a legal representation for the now former school superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools. This is a gentleman who was detained this past Friday. ICE says that he is in the country illegally. That man, Ian Andre Roberts, has now stepped down from his role with the school district, and it is sparking a lot of emotions in the community. Folks have been protesting, students gathering and basically having signs that are saying free Dr. Roberts. So we have the lawyers for this man who are giving information as much as they can to the public. Let's listen in right now.
The government or immigration. We've had some very successful immigration cases decided in our favor from those judges. I don't want to name the judges, but I know each one of those judges. Brandon knows them. They are great judges. We're in and out of federal court. Someone from our law firm, 2 or 3 of our lawyers, every single day. So we know these folks. So I think if you talk about setting precedent, I don't care what person is president of the United States. I believe these judges are going to be fair. If I didn't believe it, I will tell you, we're dealing with a judge that's not fair. I know these judges well. I know their cases. I've tried cases in front of each of them, and I have the confidence they're not going to bend over, make it any easier for the government as they will for our cases. And I know in their immigration cases, they have the same concerns as all of these other judges around the country who've been issuing rulings. Okay?
I wanted to just say, first of all, I appreciate your saying, Alfredo, that it's a very complex immigration system. I'm good, thank you. Having been through the immigration system myself, I know exactly how complex it is, and I know it's gotten a lot more complicated in recent decades. What I wanted, and I think also that there's a lot of, I just want to say this, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, misunderstanding in general about what it takes to have a high-level job in the United States. You do not have to be a U.S. citizen. You don't have to have U.S. citizenship. What you need is either a green card or a work permit of some sort of a visa, an H-1B visa. So whether or not he's a citizen honestly doesn't matter to me. I don't think that's the issue. But I do understand that at various times he has been in and out of visa status. And I guess I'd like to ask you, what are some of the complications he has faced during those periods when he's been out of status? What has he bumped up against in this system that has been difficult for him to get past?
I would say, and I'll let Brandon deal with this too, you can see a tough reporter asking me questions, right? I should be able to respond like, boom, but to ask a tough question, it's good to see you. That's a tough question. I don't think at the moment I'm prepared to delve into that, but it's a question that at some point we have to deal with. We're dealing with it now as we go through all the myriad of facts that we are coming in front of us. And those questions will be answered. They may be answered in terms of the negotiations that we are currently involved in. They may be answered if we have to go to trial. But at the moment, I can't delve too deeply into it. I can tell you, because it's public record, like you said, this is an old case, right? It's been around the system. That's why I can't point the finger at the administration. I would if I could. I have no shyness about that. I'm not in love with our president, right? But I know that the stage that is being set is so troubling. It has to be to all of us. It's so troubling to me in the world that I'll leave for my children. I get concerned about it every night. But we're going to have to kind of work through some more facts. We just got the full file yesterday. One of our lawyers has been pouring through it. We just got the personnel file. We're pouring through it. We've been pouring through everything's online, not the social media stuff, but and we're building our own chronology. Brandon may want to add something to that point.
Real quick, Brandon, before you go, I just want to comment. We only have a few minutes left. And so we only have time for just a few more questions because we do have to be out of here by 7, and we got to get all the chairs up. So we only have a few more
Brandon
questions.
also has 2 little babies at home. He's got to go take it.
Yeah, and I got Eli, and Eli he don't care about he's like, get here.
Oh, I mean, Al said it all. I mean, Reka, that's a classic front of case question, but requires an end of case answer.
It is a great question that everybody, Raker is obviously, you all probably know, one of the best, most compassionate. I mean, we've had our differences, I have to admit, but only on one case, I think. But when I was representing a prosecutor, by the way, that's the only time I've ever had a dispute. But she is one of the most talented reporters and inquisitive persons I've ever met. That question goes to the core of where we are.
I'd like to comment on what you said as far as letting his legacy live on. He's laid the foundation. We have to keep moving until this all gets worked out. But the question I had was, I seen on my phone that they moved him. He's no longer in Sioux City. Is that true?
From Sioux City to Council Bluffs, that's where we did the hearing. Brandon and I were actually in Des Moines. It was by video, which is lawful and allowed ever since the pandemic. They allow those subject to approval. He was in Council Bluffs. We were in Des Moines. The judge was in Des Moines. He's in Polk County. He's going to be, I'll leave it at that, okay? But the marshals have been very cooperative. He's been very well treated. The U.S. Attorney's Office, who I've been in contact with ever since Friday. It's amazing to collect cell phone numbers, right? So if you know how to call folks, as they say, the old saying is not what you know, but who you know. So you got to make those things happen at the right time. So these folks have been cooperative. Today, when we had a problem with his move, we gave him the number. 15 minutes later, he's on the phone with Brandon. So we got to bow our heads and thank these folks. Even though they're opposing counsel, they have been gracious.
I mean, I would just like to add, too, because I'm sure a lot of people are concerned about how Dr. Roberts is doing right now. And I can tell you, we've been talking with him when he was up in county jail, en route to Council Bluffs. When he got there, we talked to him. The staff have been extremely professional. The marshals, the correctional staff, they appreciate the magnitude of what's going on. And Dr. Roberts is getting the utmost respect. We've had access to him. In considering circumstances, I can imagine being in better spirits and more engaged than what we've seen over the last few days. And he knows the support he still receives from the community. We make sure that he is aware of that as well.
We have time for this. We have this question, one more question, and then one more question after her. So 1, 2, 3. Who's the third one? So we got 2, and then
See how smart he
we'll
is?
Do,
He's thinking
we'll do
way
Mary.
ahead of you, right?
Looking at you.
We'll finish up with these 3 right here.
Thank you for this opportunity. Alfredo, I've been watching you here in Des Moines. I've lived in Des Moines my whole life. And I remember when AKO was in the Black Panthers and he was driving a bus. I was teaching at Ames Hyatt, and the cop stopped him, and he says, "I got hungry babies. You going to drive them?" So anyway, thanks again. I wanted to just share with you the fact that, I belong to a grassroots organization. We have just formed a group called Public School Strong, which is actually a national umbrella group. We have attended every school board meeting. We are there to uplift Des Moines Public Schools, and we have had just a great amount of opportunity to uplift what Dr. Roberts has done for this district, for the morale of our kids, for their sense of belonging, and the way he has touched hearts and minds. And he has been in almost, I think he's probably been in every single building more than once. And so I guess what really sort of shook me when I first saw this report was it seemed like a very targeted hit. It was very quick, just extracted him quickly. And I thought, where is due process? And so people will say to me, well, is he a citizen? I don't think that's required. Can you clarify on that, please?
You're absolutely right. It's not required. Did you see the list of the schools, the 25 schools that came out from around Des Moines? And look, I had how many kids? I can't even count. 4 kids to go through the school system. 3 of them are lawyers, and 1 is a nuclear engineer, right? I say that to point this out to you. Des Moines schools used to be the best that ever existed. In Iowa, we competed with Wisconsin. That was it. We're struggling to stay afloat. And our school system, this man was such a light to our school system to make it so fabulous. And we can't let him down. He inspired all of us. Okay.
Thank you, Attorney Al. I am so sorry, everybody. We do have to keep this short. I know I have to be the bad guy. So you're welcome, Al.
The elected official is the bad guy?
Okay, my question is, I want to go back to the beginning. When he applied, I'm assuming that, and I'm pretty sure they did the whole number right on him. They checked all his credentials, all of that. So I'm wondering, where was the ball dropped at? And I'm not sure y'all can answer that or anything, but I know they checked it with him being an African-American man and all his credentials and a superintendent at another school. So I'm wondering what happened, what's going on.
That one is one of those, again, front end, good questions, but it's going to require us to get through a lot of litigation before we can answer that. So I apologize it's like when you question somebody and you have a line of questions and the judge, or there's an objection, the judge sustains, you don't have any more questions. I feel bad because I can't answer the last question, but unfortunately we just can't answer that, ma'am. I'm sorry.
But it is a good question.
There we go.
Okay.
We got one more.
And we might make a couple of comments to close. Thank you.
Then we wanted to know, is it possible you could talk about the QR code and the GoFundMe page? Does anybody?
We have one, and it's QR codes right there, I guess. So, yes. Yeah, I think you can use your camera phones if you'd like. It's all self-explanatory.
They cut his pay, so because they cut his pay, there's going to be...
Use the mic, please.
Well, he's unpaid leave, and so, once you don't have anything coming in, but you got 6 lawyers and everything's going out, you're going to probably need a little bit of help to get through it. So that's where the GoFundMe is coming from.
Last question.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I just wanted to make a comment about Eon Roberts. I think he's an eloquent, fabulous, well-dressed young man, and I've seen him with hands-on with the children, and it's very sad how the internet and how quickly the news traveled, and the news that traveled was negative. I just got something off of TikTok. My son sent it to me. He didn't know too much about Dr. Roberts, but was just simply horrible. But if he hadn't had the gun, and if he hadn't had the knife, would this be as, a bigger thing as, as far as him not being have to prove himself? It's sad to say that a lot of times we get stuck on color, or you see somebody that's stately, or they seem like, they have all their I's dotted, their T's crossed, and just one little thing, and they try to crumble your life away. Just like I told my son, I said, 1 minute they'll have you on a pedestal, and they'll have an axe in the other hand. And it's sad that the world is like that now, But I just want to stand up for him and stand up for the people of Iowa. We cannot let this stuff continue. And whatever we need to do, or if I need to do something,
yes, ma'am.
I want people to, reach out to me. I'm a narcissist. I hate to say that, but my family Jonathan was my brother, and he stood for a lot of things, but I just wanted to say that we like Dr. Roberts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I might want to say a couple things in closing. Okay. I just want to close with this. The support here, I see Betty here, who's been just a great, Betty Andrews, been such a great supporter with the NAACP. We've had lawyers call from all over the country asking what can they do to help out. So many we can't get back to them sometimes. But let me say a couple of things. I've been in the state a long time, raised 4 kids in this community and 7 grandkids. Iowa, to some extent, in the educational system has dropped into, I see Principal Hannah here. I just talked to him earlier. He was an inspiration to my kids, my daughter, who's now a lawyer with a firm of 800. She makes me look bad. But I've been to China, 4 times in the last year. But those kind of things, it's what I know. She was inspired by black educators. And it made a difference. So I understand the perplexity that everyone may be in right now. But I also think, as I share with my kids and in my office, everything is not about race, but obviously a lot of folks in this administration wants to make everything about race. I've never seen days like this. I grew up in George Wallace's state. And I know, and after he was shot, he fell on his knees and says, hey, I don't believe in that anymore. At some point, I have a great thing I use with all my clients who walk in, and I tell folks we don't get easy cases. This is what I tell them. If you had a magic wand, what would you do and where would you want to be? The next thing I tell them is this too shall pass. Those are my 2 favorite things to say to clients who walk in. But I want you in this community and those who are supporting and listening, this too shall pass. We hope with a victory or with a resolution that we can all live with. But your point is well taken. As you know, I worked with Jonathan, took his case all the way up to Supreme Court on the issue of should he be on the ballot when all the good Democrats were trying to kick him off the ballot. That was our case, too, and we fought like hell. I'm sorry, Reverend, but we fought like heck. Yeah, we fought like heck to make a difference. But be aware and tell your young kids this, as I tell my young kids, sometimes it's about race, and we know that. Don't dwell on it so much you can't see straight ahead. I go to these rural counties where I'm representing white defendants. I hardly ever mention most of the time my race. I said, sometimes I forget. No, I'm kidding. No. I don't forget. But I just want to tell you, a lot of times it is about race. But don't get so focused on it that you lose sight of the law, the technical defenses, the other stuff, because you can't defend just because you're black. You got to defend because you understand the law, you appreciate the nuances, and as my dad used to say, you have to work 4 times as hard to get half as much. And that's how my training started. That's what I tell my lawyers, even the white ones. Okay.
And they're not turning red ones.
But he has a great team. These people are 10 times smarter than me. They are so supportive. If anybody see our office, we're right over on Grand. Drive by there. There's an old building, used to be the Christ Child Home, where they used to have kids dropped off when the parents were sick and they would go up to mail. It was my dream when I got to this town to own that building. It took me a while to work up to it, and we have a great staff in there housing and taking care of that building. Do you have any last words? Yeah, okay, you sure? Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for your support, too. All right.
Say, Rob.
I was correct.
All right, folks, wrapping up there at Town Hall in Des Moines, Iowa, as the attorneys for the former school superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools are giving an update on the case to the community. As you saw, a lot of folks turned out there. There have been protests underway ever since this former superintendent, Ian Andre Roberts, was detained. That was back this past Friday. And you can hear a lot of concern from the community. ICE says that Mr. Roberts is in the country illegally, and they detained him. He ended up stepping down because he says he doesn't want to be a distraction while this deportation process is underway. We'll keep an eye on this. You heard the attorneys there talking about how they plan to fight to keep him in the country. Any new updates we'll bring to you here on Live Impact News. Meantime, folks, time to take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes with the very latest from your headlines and any new live feeds that are popping up here. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back, everyone, to Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We are going to head back to a feed we were watching in the last hour. That is the feed coming to us from Memphis, Tennessee, where there is a community meeting that's underway, happening on the backdrop of a federal law enforcement deployment and Tennessee National Guard deployment that's underway there in an effort to tackle crime. We've got various community leaders who are addressing questions from the public. Let's listen in.
Coming out in, but make sure you correct your people because they are spreading unnecessary hysteria, and that will cause some young cat, I didn't say YN,
I know.
some young cat to go out there and think he's Billy, bad person, and be out there and get jammed up or hurt because you got these people out here spreading this hysteria. Unnecessary.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that too, just so that we can clarify a few things. That I spoke to the Major General that's in charge of this group that'll be coming. I spoke to him week before last, actually, just to have the initial conversations and really talk to him about what we would like to see. Very nice man, very accommodating man. And what I don't want us to do is vilify the servicemen and women who have been forced to come here. Yes, some of those individuals are individuals that work in our community. Some of those individuals are people who, it's their job. They've been asked to be here. But what we did ask them was, could we make sure that our National Guard members were doing the types of work and activity that would help support visibility in certain locations, at our sporting events, at festivals and things of that nature, as opposed to implementing them in any type of public safety activity. So initially, it was said that we'll probably get National Guard men and women who were not in a public safety role in their National Guard uniforms. Just today, we were told that we may get some that in their National Guard role, they are military police. But we don't plan to say, hey, we need you on this warrant, or we need you pulling over traffic. We have asked that we don't do any type of checkpoints and things like that in our city. Yes, they did that in D.C. But when I say it's good to be educated, D.C. is a federal jurisdiction. They can, the Metropolitan Police have to do what the federal jurisdiction tell them to do there. We are having our National Guard deployed by the state. And so in the state, we are not allowing, the National Guard to come in and do things that are against state law. Checkpoints are against state law unless it's a DUI campaign or something that has already been advertised and planned. So all of the things that you're hearing, they're going to stand up checkpoints in the neighborhood and all of these different things, we're going to be trying our best to ensure that that kind of activity doesn't happen. That's why we're having these conversations. I know I said a lot, but it's obviously needed to be clearer. I'm going to share one more thing. Something happened today. This is a classic example of social media information sending people in a panic. Well, all of our federal partners are on our radio frequency here so that we can hear them, they can hear us. They are here to support various activities of the Memphis Police Department. We had a call that came up. It was near a school. It wasn't about the school at all, but it was in a park near a school where a young man had got jumped. He got beat up by 3 individuals. Those 3 suspects hurt him pretty bad, and so they called the police. We get there, and of course the federal agents are on our radio. They come also to support. The word went out that the federal agents beat this young man up. That didn't happen, but it got out there, and people believe what they see on social media. But it instilled fear, and what happened is that the officers basically got there and made sure that that individual got sent to Region 1 Hospital, and there was no physical encounter with that victim at the time. But that's just an example of how over these next few weeks, tell mom and them, brother and them, all of your friends, try to control, some of the chatter. If you will. I'm going to tell my husband, because he be on social media all the time. I tell him, if you don't get off of social media. Thank you.
And so, y'all, the purpose of this, if we're really going to move Memphis forward, then we have to go and tell them correct. So I'm grateful for especially having all the media here, because sometimes the media, I love you and I'm a part of you all, but sometimes we have people afraid. But today, I do believe we're going to give the information so that people are not running scared anymore, so that we can enjoy this beautiful city called Memphis. So this question is for Attorney Peoples. I'm going to give you 2. Was it legal to put the 83-year-old senior on Facebook, I hope you know about it, while she was getting evicted by a process server? And then I also want you to address, could you please provide more of an explanation related to the legality of National Guard deployment and the 2 legal opinions that have been recently been rescinded? Let me say them again. Did you hear about the young lady, the 83-year-old woman that got evicted?
I heard.
Use your mic.
I heard about an elderly woman who, from what I saw, was wrongfully evicted. I don't know any of the details. That's all I heard about it. So whether it's legal to put someone who's being evicted to video them, if they're in public, you do have a right to video, but I don't know the details of the circumstances. there was something about 2 recent court decisions. What 2 recent court decisions?
Could you provide more of an explanation related to the legality of the National Guard deployment and the 2 legal opinions that have recently been rescinded?
As far as the legality of the National Guard deployment, in this case, the National Guard is being deployed at the behest of the governor, and he has the right to request them to come to the city. The chief said that they're not going to be participating in law enforcement, but the governor has the ability to give them the authority to do that. So as far as the legality of the National Guard arriving, because they're coming at the behest of the governor, they do have a legal right to come. I hope that answers that question.
I got some more. I know where you're going. A councilwoman. So, and I want to say this publicly to Councilwoman Yolanda Cooper Sutton. When she got wind of someone calling her about the 83-year-old woman getting evicted, she did not sit down on her couch and say, oh, I'll take care of it, I'm after hours. She got up out, whatever she was doing, getting ready to play tennis probably, but she went to serve the people. And I'm grateful to know you, my sister, to know that you really care. Can we give her a round of applause? And I want to ask you these questions, and then you can tie all that in. I want to make sure we get, because it was imperative to me that we get everybody question addressed, because every question matters to me. Nobody is voiceless in this space. Everybody has a voice. Who do I speak with? This is for you, Councilwoman. Who do I speak with regarding this misuse of authority from the DHS Child Care Local Office? An 84-year-old business owner was forced to shut down and sign paperwork under duress, which caused irreparable harm to families, employees, and herself. I have another one for you. Could you explain a bit more why you voted no on a recent City Council resolution that opposes the deployment of the National Guard, especially considering many Memphians, ones that would consider you as an ally, also oppose deployment of the Guard and support the council members that supported the resolution? One more, and you can tag all the way in, sis. How can I become a part of your team in all your initiatives, helping with pushing your agendas? Have at it, Councilwoman.
Okay. That email, that first question you asked about the email about the 84, I just read that email today. So that was sent to me today, and so I have not had an opportunity to research and to find out more about it. I just don't jump into a pot and I don't know everything about it. So I just got that email. Matter of fact, I just read it today, because when you read it, I said, I just got that email.
Wow.
And so just give me a day or so to get my analysts to look into it, and we'll investigate it, and I can then have your answer. What I'm not going to do is answer anything prematurely that I don't have an answer for, to make it sound good to you. That's what I'm never, ever going to do. The second question was
the resolution you voted no.
The resolution I voted no on. Because what I wasn't going to do, and I made it very clear, and I don't know what part that person missed on that, I was not going to be a part of the people gaslighting the people. Because it didn't mean a hill of beans, and I'm going to say it again, the paper it was written on. And during the time that this resolution was presented, it should have been when Patel made it public, everybody's radar in the city should have went up that Memphis was the most dangerous city in the world. Not anyone said anything about it. I asked. I made a video We need to do something, and I'm going to say what I said on 3 on 3 with Dr. Talisa Franklin. We should have cut them off at the knees when they did it. But no one said anything. So my vote was no, because I was not going to gaslight the people. And the people that brought the resolution up, this ain't time to play games with the people's lives. Now, the people that brought the resolution up are my colleagues. Have any of them had any kind of town hall meeting discussing what's the next move to make sure that you stay safe, your baby stay safe, we stay safe? Don't play games with me. I'm not her. Because my loins is girded about with truth. And that's Ephesians 6, and you need to go read it. So, I voted no because it was a trick. And I ain't part of playing games with people's lives. I have to answer to someone much higher than you. So if you don't understand it, I just told you. Gaslight the people. It was a political stunt. They running for positions. No, I ain't stepping on no toes, it's just telling the truth. Well, I get back in this seat right now, I'm in here now. So we're not going to play games with the people at such a critical time here in Memphis. This is why we're where we are now. Game playing. See, you are playing chess and checkers, but it's a Ouija board that's going on out there. That's coming after our lives. You understand? Do you understand what's happening? This stuff is serious. So, I hope that answered your question. In your email, we'll get a response once I've done my research of my analysts.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Anything else?
No, I was just going to say, not to smile at the end. I love it.
Ain't got a pretty smile. Now, this is for you, state rep, since you're talking. Come on, jump in here. This is for actually state.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back in 2 minutes. We have the very latest for you coming up on the government shutdown, which is underway, approaching third day in just a few hours. So stick with us. In 2 minutes, we'll be back with what you need to know about the impacts. All right, folks, back here at a Live Impact News studio. I'm Vanessa Rufus. Of course, the big national headline right now, the ongoing government shutdown, and we are now into it a couple days at this point. Midnight, essentially tonight, overnight, we'll be entering a third day of the government being closed. There's all sorts of impacts and seemingly still an impasse between Democrats and Republicans on passing a spending plan. But on the very latest on that, let's get to Yamiche Alcindor with how the discussions are going.
Day 2 of the government shutdown, and there is no end in sight, with furloughed government employees anxious about their jobs and their paychecks. Today, President Trump posting online that he's meeting with Russell Vought, the head of the Office of Management and Budget, to, quote, determine which of the many Democrat agencies Vought recommends the president cut and which workers he will fire temporarily and permanently.
Look, it's likely going to be in the thousands.
I don't think it's unreasonable for the president to use all the levers.
And as Republicans and Democrats blame each other for the shutdown, the real effects are hitting everyday Americans.
We're at this standstill, and that panic, that's panic on real military families.
Federal workers, especially those already hit by government cuts, feeling frustrated.
What we really want to do is to be at work. We're feeling angry at being treated as political pawns.
And in a controversial move, the Trump administration squarely blaming the Democrats on government websites, which could violate federal law. But the tactics appearing to motivate Democrats to stand their ground.
Republicans have consistently shut the government down as part of their efforts to try to extract and jam their extreme right-wing agenda down the throats of the American people.
Independent polls show more Americans right now putting the blame on President Trump and Republicans for the shutdown. It's not clear if President Trump can legally fire federal workers during the shutdown. Several unions representing workers say their members are being used as pawns, and a White House official tells NBC News they're looking into the legality of all of this. Yamiche Alcindor, NBC News, Washington.
And with that, we want to turn to one of the impacts we're seeing here locally in the Carolinas, and that is on immigration operations and also just the immigration processes going through court hearings. Our Julie Kay found out that under this current shutdown, ICE operations are expected to continue. However, there could be a lack of funding for the court processes, and essentially with that being funded entirely almost by Congress, immigration courts could close, which could add even more to an existing backlog that we have in the Charlotte area. Let's listen into what Julie found out about the situation.
Been thinking in terms of their own families.
On the road to citizenship, Ruth Santana is there to walk with you.
What do you do? What can you do? Where can you go?
That journey, often years long as is, could get a lot worse if the government stays shut down, leaving immigrants in limbo.
Cases that before would generally take maybe about 5 to 6 years to come to fruition and to complete, now could take anywhere from 10 to 12.
The Immigrant Justice Center's grantors tell Santana things should move at a normal pace for now, but that pace already stagnant for many cases. The backlog in Charlotte as of August, more than 133,000 cases. This is significantly higher than the last government shutdown in 2019, when it was closer to 21,000. Even then, nationwide, upwards of 90,000 cases were put on hold.
It will be worsened.
This comes on top of cuts they're already seeing. The federal grants they rely on to function are still coming in, but they're now reviewed every 3 months instead of every year.
If it's not renewed, then we're back to square one, which would be in terms of work freeze, which could entail, unfortunately, reduction of staff.
Even though these roadblocks make Santana's job uncertain, she says they'll keep going until they can't.
And as we mentioned, there is an existing backlog for immigration cases. As of August, the immigration hearing backlog in Charlotte was more than 133,000 cases. Now, we know national parks also taking a hit from this closure. In fact, over the past week, we've discussed how, passing now the 1-year mark since Helene, there was really a lot of hope coming into the fall season that our high country and also eastern Tennessee could see some rebounding in tourism in the wake of the storm, since they did miss out on tourism season this past fall because of Helene. Now, of course, with the closures in place for national parks, it's going to be a mixed bag in the sense of we're seeing some facilities that might close, roads and trails might remain open, and we're hearing from folks in the Great Smoky Mountains about how they're seeing impacts shaping up. Let's listen in.
Cindy and John Cloutier are visiting from Michigan for the first time in decades.
My dad's family is from this area, and I haven't been here since I was a small child, so I just retired. So we're starting to do a little bit of traveling, and the Smoky Mountains was #1 place that I wanted to come and see again.
They said they didn't know the shutdown would impact their visit.
I'm probably not going to come back again, at least for a couple of years, if I'm still able to then.
Popular sites like the Sugarlands Visitor Center and Cades Cove Visitor Center are closed, but the Gatlinburg Welcome Center is open.
You're really going to be able to find all of the same things that Sugarlands has. Thankfully, we have all of the park information and all of Gatlinburg's information here at the Gatlinburg Welcome Center, so you won't be missing anything, and this can be your one-stop shop for all of it.
And on the first day, the amount of visitors they had didn't change, but they anticipate more people to come in.
With it just recently happening, we have not necessarily seen an increase or a decrease, but we do expect in the upcoming days that we will see an increase.
And the Cloutiers say they won't let these closures ruin their trip.
If you want to come here, there's still plenty to see. You know, a lot of the government offices are closed, but it doesn't affect us that much. I don't think. You still are out in the woods, if you will, the forest, and it's beautiful down here.
And so really on that note, we do want to reiterate there is plenty to see in the North Carolina high country as well. And we're getting some great fall color updates from our friends up there in the high country, including Grandfather Mountain, who sent us those regular fall pictures, and it's really starting to get some good color. So continue to go up to the high country and visit some of the small businesses as well. That will definitely help with an economic bounce back from Helene. We're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll be back in 2 minutes with the very latest of your local, national, and global headlines. We'll see you in just a couple minutes. All right, folks, thanks for sticking with us here on Live Impact News. We want to get to a quick look at your forecast because it's been really delightful today and folks are probably enjoying some of the fall feels. We're going to see if that will continue. So here's Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich.
Views firsthand, but the camera's right there up at the Beach Mountain Club. It is beautiful. Now this morning, crisp and cool might have made you feel like you're up in the mountains because in the Piedmont, it was just as cool as it was up there. 52 degrees up in the Boone area, 52 in Jefferson, 57 in Charlotte this morning, but look at Salisbury over to Asheboro, 48. I think we're going to see more of those 40s coming up tonight into tomorrow morning. 75 and 57, about as normal a day as you can get, and no one would forget, trust me, I don't, this date back in 2019, 2 days in a row of 99 degrees. I was camping that weekend. It was brutally hot. The hottest October record ever on those first 2 days of the month. And by the way, about a week later, it was cool again. So it was just a weird freak heat wave that happened at the beginning of October. Normally, like we mentioned yesterday, 90 is not normal in October. It's only happened 15 Octobers all time here in the Charlotte area. So it is not a very common occurrence. I think we're done for sure based on the long range forecast. And with temperatures in the 70s, who needs to talk about 90s? I got my windows open today. I'm going to leave them open tonight because with dew points in the 40s, you can get free air conditioning. I love this time of year. You're almost at the point where you can just use the window as the thermostat. Close it when it's cold, open it when it's hot. And tonight will be a good night to open it because radiational cooling in place gives you the perfect setup for things to cool down. And that sunset's coming up. Look at my watch here in Charlotte, 7:06 p.m. Clear skies, so tonight I'm going 52 at the airport, but I wouldn't be shocked at my house and away from uptown. We might see some upper 40s, so I'm looking at places like down towards South Charlotte, maybe over towards the Matthews area, certainly up in the Huntersville area. There's going to be a few of those cool pockets in and around Mecklenburg County that get down in the upper 40s. Tomorrow, very similar to today. 75, 76 degrees, just absolutely picture perfect. Surface map, always great when there's not a lot going on. There's not much on the surface. We've got high pressure and control. Some clouds and moisture coming in from the south. That's a little tropical wave that's near Florida. It has a small chance to develop. It's not going to, but it is going to increase moisture as we go into next week. And the first thing you'll notice is the increase in dew points. Dew points could jump into the upper 50s Monday, Tuesday with that influx of tropical moisture. As much as I love low dew points, I would love to get some rain just as much. So hopefully we'll get some of that. Beautiful weekend out at the Speedway. The Roval 400, it's a race where they can run it in the rain because it is a road course. They can put the tires on if it's not pouring. Visibility is an issue when it rains there. It's not light rain, but usually this time of year you're dealing with a landfalling tropical system or it's freezing cold. It seems to be one of those two. This year is just about perfect. So great weekend for the Speedway. They should have great conditions. Probably some increasing clouds on Sunday for that race because of the influx of that moisture from the south. You'll see that influx of moisture into the low country of South Carolina. I wouldn't be surprised to see that sneak north if we see more of an influx there. But right now, don't think this is going to be a drought buster. This is not enough rain to bust a drought. I think we need like 4 to 5 inches of rain. Brittany Van Voorhees today did a good piece in our early shows on Linear talking about how much rain we need. Now, just to put that in perspective, normal rainfall in October is like 3.16, I believe. So that's roughly 2 to 3 inches above our normal rainfall. That's what we basically need. You don't need normal rainfall. So here's the long-range futurecast. Interesting influx of moisture from the south there. Also notice kind of a little bit of a wedge configuration, high pressure to the north. But watch this cold front come down. This cold front, Tuesday, Wednesday, probably going to do more than that tropical moisture will. It'll help squeeze some of it out, and we could see some thunderstorms. And then look at the big high pressure of the northeast. That will really cool us down late next week. There's our tropical wave, only a 10% chance of development. That one in the Atlantic, you see that and you go, it's only 20% chance. That's actually a much more favorable spot to develop long range. The 20% is just because of uncertainty. I actually think that will develop long range. That's the main development region down there in the central Atlantic, and that's a very favorable location for a tropical system. So just a heads up, we're likely going to have something out there eventually. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. This basically gets us through the middle of next week, and you see this and think, it's crazy warm. Well, this is just above normal for this time of year. Our average high next week is like 75, 76, so 78, 79 would be above normal. So don't be shocked if we see some of that as we go into next week. Certainly looks like it's going to be a pretty cool stretch by the end of the week. But this weekend, not so cool. 79 on Saturday, 80 on Sunday. But I wouldn't be surprised if we say upper 70s if we have more clouds. It just is going to feel more humid on Sunday than we're going to see on Saturday because of that influx of moisture and cloud cover coming in from the south. We're going to take a long look at our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast because we've got a stretch there between Saturday and Wednesday where it could be near 80 degrees. That's not crazy hot, but that's certainly above normal for this time of year. And the rain chances really ramp up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But look at that cold front. By Thursday, a high of 68. 68 on Friday, only low 70s for next weekend. That is truly going to be a significant cool down. Maybe our first, what I would call, really chilly air of the season, because that will actually be slightly below normal for this time of year. So we'll actually, embrace that, especially after all the warm weather we had. Quick look at the drought monitor, because we mentioned this yesterday. I know Tim and I will talk about this maybe briefly today. But as we mentioned, we need the rain. That's why I'm excited for that rain next week. The drought monitor shows most of the Carolinas still abnormally dry, and the coastal plain from South Carolina to North Carolina, moderate drought conditions. The only improvement we saw in the last week were parts of the mountains, because we had scattered storms last week into the weekend, and that helped soak them.
All right, folks, and much more to come on the weather front as we go on throughout the next couple of days. I want to bring you now to live images. We are just getting into our Live Impact News studio from Los Angeles. Specifically, this is around the Brentwood neighborhood. So if you're familiar at all, west of Beverly Hills, north of Santa Monica. Still a lot of information we're trying to get from our news partners out here in LA, but we're hearing from initial reports from the folks in the chopper, that this could be a homicide suspect search, and we see a couple of vehicles that are kind of pulled over in this area. So we don't know exactly how many vehicles are part of this scene, but you can see what looks to be like law enforcement vehicles, and you see some crime scene tape there blocking a roadway. Once again, very, very limited information, but in general, we can tell you the scene is going to be around the 405, and I'd say more or less around Montana Avenue. We're really just getting that from data from our news partners chopper. So we're just able to see the location via the chopper location, and also just kind of visuals of what we're able to see from that scene. So it appears to be a neighborhood of sort. And definitely we'll try to get some more information for you folks and bring it to you here on Live Impact News. But once again, initial reports of potential homicide suspect in Los Angeles, the Brentwood neighborhood, crime scene tape blocking off a portion of that neighborhood block. It looked like officers might have been looking in the trunk of a vehicle. And with that, we can see the chopper starting to kind of move away. So we're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Obviously, if we have more to share on that scene, we will. Otherwise, we've got a few other feeds we're watching. So we'll be right back. Okay, folks, we're going to head back to a breaking scene in the Los Angeles area. This is a different scene than the potential homicide suspect search we brought you just a few moments ago. This is the same chopper shot. They actually just left that other scene to head to this school where you can see a very large emergency response, particularly a lot of fire trucks. We have reports that there might be a vehicle that has gone into this school. We're still trying to get visual confirmation that that is the case. So far, we've only been able to see a whole lot of fire trucks. Looks like there might be medic out there. We do not know the name of the school, but we can tell you that this is north of where we were checking out before. It appears as though the chopper has gone over. I'm just trying to check the map here. It's possibly over Curtis School, from what I can tell from the map. We're just watching the flight path for the chopper, but this is San Diego Freeway near Mulholland Drive, and it appears as though the chopper is circling around an area. Oh, they're zoomed in here. Aaron Milken Center. So that's basically all of us finding this out together where this is. There you can actually see the vehicle inside the building. We don't know how this happened. As we mentioned, this is absolutely breaking in the sense that we just saw the chopper move, and we've been trying to get some information kind of piecemeal as we're getting visual cues on what's going on. And like we mentioned, have been following kind of the flight path of the helicopter for our news partner out there in Los Angeles. So,
Vanessa, I was just looking up the website for the school, and it's described as an early childhood education center where they nurture and enrich young children. So that seems to be the type of school or education center this is.
Is it indeed the Aaron Milken Center? That's the name of the school, or is that part of a larger school campus? Are you able to tell?
It says the Aaron Milken Center at Wise.
Okay.
I'm not intimately familiar with the area to know exactly what Wise is, but for another minute or two of investigating here, I'm sure I'll be able to discern that.
Okay.
But yeah, this is not far at all from where the helicopter was over that LAPD presence, and they just went literally during the duration of that 2-minute commercial break, a short flight away here.
Yeah. There it is, Aaron Milken Center at Wise. By the way, that's our producer, James Brierton, who's been looking up some background for us and more information on the scene. Very large scene. And like we mentioned, we don't know how the car ended up in the building. As a former traffic reporter, I can tell you I've seen this happen, not specifically at a school, but I've seen it happen in other situations. When I worked in the Tampa, Florida area, I was the traffic reporter for several years, and so it's not uncommon, unfortunately, to see a vehicle end up in a building. Sometimes the driver could have a medical episode. Sometimes they could literally just mistake the gas and the brake, and they hit the gas and they go straight into the building.
If we can if we could take the audio on router 4 here, the reporter in the helicopter is giving a report right now.
Okay,
on their own, but there are some injuries. You do still see the LA City Fire Department treating the injured parties. Now, this school is on the very top of a hill here, just off of Stephen Wise Drive and Cassiano Road. So this will not be having an impact on traffic as everything appears to be on the school property. Again, one car into a building here at a school, everyone out, but there are injuries. That's the latest here from Bel Air. In News Chopper 4, I'm Aliyah Moreno. Back to you in the studio.
All right, so that's the report from our affiliates, traffic reporter, helicopter reporter. Sounds like there are some injuries with the scene. James, our producer, has gotten some more information about the school itself. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so we know that this is the Aaron Milken Center at Wise. Wise is the last name of Stephen Wise, and their website says, with the foundation in the esteemed legacy of Stephen Wise Temple and Schools, the Aaron Milken Center stands as a beacon of our dedication to Jewish learning. So this is a Jewish faith-based early education center here in the greater Los Angeles area.
That's interesting. I mean, and we have absolutely no idea the intention behind the driver, accidental, intentional, but we did talk about, the context of this being one of the holiest days of the Jewish year.
Yes, today being Yom Kippur,
Yeah.
I would only assume that the early childhood education center was probably not open. I don't know that.
Yeah.
But I would speculate that they may have been closed for the holiday, but It looks like they may be moving on to other area news here, but we'll keep, I guess, a finger on that pulse.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we'll keep folks updated. James, thank you. Let us know if you hear anything more on that front. Meantime, we'll bring it back here to the Carolinas. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster just got an update from various military installations. So we're talking about installations across South Carolina. There's also Fort Gordon, Georgia, which is part of this discussion. Essentially, the briefing covering all sorts of issues that face military families and operations in the Palmetto State. So they're talking about housing challenges, access to childcare and education, traffic congestion near the installations, and so many other topics. So let's listen in to hear what the governor heard today.
So with that, Governor, sir, I'll turn it over to you for any
Thank you. Thank you, General. Just briefly, I'm glad everybody's here. This is important that we collaborate, communicate, and cooperate, and all our cabinet leaders are here. Those are direct contacts for you, as am I, and General McCaffrey, and the Speaker. We believe in picking up the phone and calling someone. If you got a question, you got an answer, pick up the phone. We don't have to have a meeting. We try to move quickly. South Carolina has an advantage, and most of us know each other, probably more so than any other state. And that enables us to turn on a dime and move quickly. So let's don't ever lose that advantage. One point about this meeting and what we do, Mr. Speaker, it takes me back to practicing law, as some of these gentlemen here are doing these days, and ladies. But I'm reminded of the story where the attorney was talking to his client, and the client was slow in paying the attorney. And the attorney finally said, Mr. Client, he says, I can either worry about my pay or I can worry about your case. So you got a choice. Which do you want me to do? And the client started paying regularly. Well, we want you and the people that you represent to not have to worry about getting paid or having what you need to complete your mission. So anything that we can do on the state level to see that you are being paid, so to speak, we will do, because what you're doing is vital not only to the economy of South Carolina, but to the ultimate picture, and that is the security of this nation. And I believe that South Carolina is in the perfect position to stand as a good example of how to get things done. And we've seen it in our economy. We've seen it in our preservation of the nature, of the recognition of our heritage. We're getting ready to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War, which, as the older scholars used to say, and the younger ones are getting back to saying now, is this is where the Revolutionary War was won. When General Cornwallis and the others realized that they could not beat the South, the southern states, particularly this state, they said it's over. The southern strategy, the southern campaign had failed, and they went back up north. So I think we will hear during the ceremonies that will be held, and General Grimsley will be very much involved in that the last shots may have been fired elsewhere, but it was the people of South Carolina, notably led by Francis Marion, General Pickens, and General Sumter, that won that war. So that's the crucible in which we in South Carolina, this state, that's the character and heritage of our state, and it makes a big difference. And a big part of that is our military history. Around the country, we are viewed as the most friendly military state in the country. We have about 400,000 veterans, and we've tried to pay those veterans, so to speak. The retirees pay no state income tax, as you know. We've worked on expanding child care. We want to do more. So if you let us know what we need to do to help you with your mission, and we'll let you know what we would like you to do to help us with our mission, because ultimately they are the same mission, then the people of this state will continue to thrive, and our nation will be secure. So, and I want to, if you have a question or an answer, speak up, because that's how we learn things. And that's more fun, too. Thank you.
Governor, thank you very much. Speaker Merle Smith, sir.
Thank you, General, and Governor, thank you for putting this together. I think this is about the third or fourth year we've done this, and I appreciate you bringing the military members around here and the leaders to this table and show that the state government is a partner to you. And that's the way we want to do it, and that's the way we've always operated. So on behalf of the South Carolina General Assembly, I want to welcome you here and thank you for your service and thank you for what you do for our great state. Our Senate President Alexander was not able to be here, but he wanted me to send his regards and say he had an unavoidable conflict, but certainly appreciates you, and the whole House and Senate and state government appreciates what y'all do for South Carolina. We have a proud military history in South Carolina, and it's something I'm being from Sumter County and Shaw Air Force Base, Colonel Walker, you know well what great things they do for Sumter, but I'm never going to pass up the opportunity to talk about not only do you provide defense of our nation and our state, but you're also an economic generator in our state. And so you hear me say this all the time. When we look at our industries, and Governor, we do a good job. You've done an excellent job of recruiting industries here, and we all celebrate and we have ribbon cuttings, but they don't touch the economic activity that happens in the state as a result of our military installations. And that we now take serious and we understand now. You look at Shaw Air Force Base in Sumter County right now. $2 billion impact in Sumter County. That shows you how important it is for us in Sumter and the state. In general, I think it's a $31 billion impact.
Back in 34.3.
34.3 keeps growing every time I mention that. But we have 17,000 jobs in Sumter County related to that, and I think it's about 8,400, 8,200 service members directly at Shaw Air Force Base. So that shows you the importance it has, and I hope we have demonstrated to you over the years by doing a number of things that the governor has discussed is we want to be military friendly. We want to be the #1 state in being military friendly. And General Grimsley, thank you for what you have done. He was our first VA director over here and did a great job, and I can look back to where we began and where we have ended. General McCaffrey, thank you for your service. We've done a lot in South Carolina to help make this an easy transition for you, to support you, but we still have a long way to go. And we're committed that we're going to do this and continue to find ways that assist you and support you. And I can tell you from my experience in the General Assembly is we are committed to making sure that we can do everything to make South Carolina the #1 military-friendly state in the nation. And that's our goal, and we'll continue to do it. And I think we've come a long way. So I thank you for being here, Governor. Thank you again for your 3 C's, like you say: collaborate, coordinate, and communicate. I don't know if I got them in the right order, but nonetheless, we get there. But this is what it's all about, is bringing people together and solving problems. And I appreciate everyone being here, appreciate the cabinet and all my members. I see them around the room. I don't want to start naming them, but it shows the dedication that we have in supporting you. So thank you, and a pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will recognize one more member because I missed. He'll make me do push-ups.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We will be back with more from this military installation update for South Carolina leaders, including the governor there, in just a couple of moments. So we'll be back in 2. Thanks for sticking with us. Welcome back, everyone, to Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We want to turn back now to this earlier briefing from today. Military commanders of 8 different military installations around South Carolina, plus one in Fort Gordon, Georgia, giving updates to Governor Henry McMaster and other South Carolina leaders regarding various topics that impact military families and the installations themselves. Let's listen in again.
The governor said this is an opportunity to collaborate and communicate and coordinate. So please, if you see something that's relevant, let's have the conversation. The reality is, I think, as unfortunate it is, have a number of years not represented, that does provide more opportunity perhaps to have a little bit more richer dialogue on some topical issues. So with that, Colonel Walker, I'll turn it to you and your team.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Governor and Speaker, Mr. Secretary, thank you all for having us here at this time to talk. I'm Colonel Hugh Walker. I'm the acting commander of Charlotte Air Force Base. This is Chief Aldrich Velasquez, the acting command chief. And when I say interesting times, that's a good way to put it. I mean, acting. So Colonel Kevin Hickok is downrange with the command chief, Chief Chris Greist. They are running an airbase in the CENTCOM theater of operations, and we get them home here pretty shortly. But we've had a unique opportunity over the last 6 months to serve in those acting roles at very interesting times for our nation. I think that this couldn't have been timed any better, quite frankly, because we have lots to talk about. And I think that it's one of those moments, like we mentioned, the support that we get from South Carolina and Sumter, where we get to actually measure it. I mean, the 20th Fighter Wing, Team Shaw, which includes Air Force Central Command and the Army Central Command commanders, along with the 25th Attack Wing, Sumter, and the state of South Carolina have been measured, like truly measured, when the nation called. We had an opportunity here to, no kidding, demonstrate the Secretary of War's peace through strength, and it shows that the decades of support, resourcing, training, and partnership came to that culminating point in the 51-day air campaign against Houthi terrorists in Yemen, resulting in 1,100 strikes by the Air Force in that theater, and in Operation Midnight Hammer, which I'll spend a good bit of time talking about today. These operations showcased the strategic importance of South Carolina coming together to actually answer the nation's call and serve as that military instrument of power. So Charlotte Air Force Base, for the last 6 months, we've had over 1,000 airmen deployed off station, 2 of our fighter squadrons, our headquarters element. We've been very busy. I mentioned, Operation Rough Rider there in Yemen. Those were all 20th Fighter Wing airmen flying our F-16s operating in that country. And then they got to turn around and do Operation Midnight Hammer. I think Midnight Hammer probably is one of the best examples of how it all comes together, quite frankly, in a small space here in South Carolina that has those, truly global impacts. So Shaw not only has the 3 F-16 squadrons, the headquarters element, we have that AFCENT component. AFCENT, with General France there as the AFCENT commander, is responsible for executing that entire air campaign. Midnight Hammer was planned, executed, and led out of Shaw. It was command and controlled through our Combined Air Operations Center there in the 609th. Shaw airmen that were back home stationed in Garrison went over to help with planning. We had our McIntyre Guardsmen come over, help with planning. We had the Army team at ARCENT come over, help with planning. I mean, it was a whole base effort to make it happen. Our airmen downrange, with Colonel Hickok and Chief Greist and some of our, F-16 Wild Weasels took part. So, oftentimes you hear about the 125 aircraft that pushed into Iran to execute those strikes, the B-2s, the F-22s, the F-35s. There are also almost a dozen of our F-16 Wild Weasels and their F-16s in direct support of those B-2s across the border, which was pretty incredible. They went into harm's way, especially as the only 4th-gen fighters to push in, the non-stealth jets. Nothing says here we come like being in an airplane like that. So they got to learn some great lessons, but they executed, with valor and truly showcased what we can do globally. To get one of those extra squadrons out of the base in short order, it took a lift of all the bases that are here in South Carolina. So we had notifications, and I had airmen that were playing golf and hanging out, and they didn't know that 7 days later, really 96 hours for the first movements, they would be in the desert. So we generated that extra squadron. That took C-17s from Charleston, turn around mid-flight, landing in South Carolina, Guardsmen coming over to help get us on the airplanes.
All right, military leadership giving a briefing to Governor Henry McMaster and other leaders in South Carolina regarding military-related topics. Of course, we heard most recently Operation Midnight Hammer being referenced there. Those were the June U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. We are just about done here on Live Impact News for the evening. We're going to turn you over to our next hour of programming. Make sure you keep it here on WCNC Plus for the news at 11. I will see you then.